I still think Shakur hasn't beaten people like Tank.
First of all, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we're listening to former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer who's semi-retired, and Keith one-time Thurman. And he goes in, shockingly, out of nowhere. He goes in on Olympic silver medalist, undefeated 3-division world champion, former unified super featherweight, and reigning WBC lightweight world champion, superstar boxer Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson, well, let's just listen to what Keith Thurman had to say, shall we?
I still think Shakur hasn't beaten people like Tank.
First of all, how could he beat somebody like Tank when Tank never agreed to fight him? That's number one. And there's only one Tank. So he said, I don't think he beat somebody like Tank. He still hasn't beaten somebody like Tank. There's only one Tank. There's nobody like Tank. And Tank is not interested in fighting him. But let's keep listening, shall we? And before we keep listening, you can see this interview in its totality on Fight Hype. Shouts out to Fight Hype. Shouts out to Ben and Fight Hype. Shouts out to them.
I mean, Shakur hasn't even been in with Isaac Cruz. Come on.
Let's stop right there. I seek Pitbull Cruz, former WBA super lightweight or junior welterweight world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, refused. He had the opportunity on multiple occasions, 2 to be exact, to fight Shakur Stevenson, and he chose not to. I interviewed Isaac Cruz multiple times, and I asked him, why didn't he fight Shakur Stevenson? And Isaac Cruz told me personally he didn't like the style matchup. He runs around too much. So what is Keith Thurman talking about? They could have fought for the vacant WBC lightweight title. Isaac Cruz opted to go in a different direction. After that, Isaac Cruz was the WBC #1 challenger. He could have been a mandatory. He chose to go in a different direction when the fight could have been ordered. He did not want to fight him. And when I asked about it, he says Shakur Stevenson is boring and he moves around too much. So how could he fight somebody like Isaac Cruz, Keith Thurman?
I get it on like some boxing level stuff, but I really don't get it. I don't. Do something, bro.
How's he doing something when nobody's giving him the opportunity to do it? Right? And now this reporter was asking Keith Thurman, what's his thoughts on a Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson fight? And Keith Thurman went on his rant. Gervonta Tank Davis had that controversial win. In his case, that's a win. It ended in a draw, but it's a win for him because he didn't have the L in that second column, which he should have because of the debacle in the 9th round. But that's for another conversation. But let's listen and keep listening. He says that he needs to do something. And the reporter asks him, he looks at it like Errol Spence and himself, and the fight never happened, right? And he goes on to say it's not like him and Errol Spence. Him and Errol Spence had done way more. That's not true. Shakur Stevenson is a 3-division champion and former unified champion. He's done more than Keith Thurman.
Do something, bro. What have you done? Who have you fought? Who have you beaten? Tank's got names, bro.
He says Tank got names. What names do Tank Davis have? Isaac Cruz, who refused to fight Shakur Stevenson. He knocked out Frank Martin 2 fights ago, who pulled out the negotiations. Shakur did everything in his power to make a Frank Martin fight. They was already scheduled to fight in November, and then Frank Martin pulled out the fight because he wanted Bob Arum and Top Rank to give him more money. He didn't like how he was being treated, and he pulled out the fight. And then he ended up fighting Tank Davis in June. Keith Thurman needs to educate himself on what's going on in the sport of boxing. But that's right. He fought a total of 3 times in 8 years. He's not very active, and he's clearly not tuned into the sport of boxing.
Tank's been in the fire. I don't think...
He says Tank's been in the fire. With who? Again, Frank Martin pulled out the fight with Shakur Stevenson. Isaac Cruz refused to fight Shakur Stevenson. He just pulled up Lamont Rose Jr., who lost to Jamel Herring, who Shakur Stevenson absolutely dominated and took his belt from. Who else has he been in the fire with, Keith?
Shakur's been in the fire, man. You know, I think this matchmaking is way weaker than just resumes. You know, people see a skill set. Yada.
Let's stop again right there. He unified and chased down Oscar Valdez, who was top 10 pound for pound best fighters in the world, unified the belts against him. He moved up in weight and beat Jamel Herring, who beat Lamont Roach, who Lamont Roach arguably just beat Tank Davis this past Saturday. Okay. He beat Edwin De Los Santos. Okay. Now, was it the most exciting fight? No. But Keith Thurman has been in fights where he just runs around the ring as well. Edwin De Los Santos has 16 wins, 2 losses, no draws, 14 wins by way of knockout. Who did Tank Davis fight on that level? Rolando Rolly Romero? Who did he beat? Nobody. So we got Isaac Cruz, refused to fight him. Lamont Roach, who lost to Jamel Herring, who Shakur dominated and took his belt. He fought Frank Martin. Frank Martin pulled out the fight. Shakur pushed for the fight, negotiated the fight. They agreed to the fight, and Frank Martin pulled out the fight. So who else did he fight? Rolly Romero couldn't beat Edwin De Los Santos on his best day. So who was he in the fire against? Leo Santa Cruz? What is he talking about? Hector Garcia and Lamont Roach fought. Lamont Roach beats Hector Garcia via split decision with a late round knockout after Tank had already knocked him out and broke his eye socket. What are we talking about, Keith? Educate yourself.
Yada, yada. I get it, but word on the street is that boy's been slapped.
He said word on the street the boy has been slapped. By who and when? When have you heard anybody say that Shakur Stevenson has been knocked out in any type of sparring or any type of fight? When have you heard that? You've never heard that. So what is Keith Thurman talking about? Word on the street from who? Who told Keith Thurman that?
I don't know. I don't like. It's really hard for boxers like that. You know, he's gonna have to just box. I mean, which
Keith, when you stepped up in competition, that's what you did. Box. When you fought Danny Garcia, box. You didn't knock him down and knock him out. When you fought Sean Porter, you box. You didn't knock him down and knock him out. And you got hurt visibly in all those fights. And you ducked Errol Spence for years. Years he ducked Errol Spence. He won the belt in March of 2017. Errol Spence won his belt, the first belt against Kell Brook in May of 2017. Errol Spence from 2017 on had been pushing and begging Keith Thurman to unify the belts, and he refused to fight Errol Spence. Then he lost to Manny Pacquiao and lost his belt. Got stripped of the WBC because of inactivity. What is he talking about? Who did he knock out at the highest level? Nobody. He was boxing. He was running around the ring.
We'll call it just like the controversial fight Haney had with Ryan. As Haney's a great boxer. They think he's like, they think he was the nicest. Not the nicest. They think Shakur's the nicest. I don't think he's the nicest. I think he's nice. Is he really the nicest? I don't know, man. You want to know if he's the nicest, you got to put him with somebody who got to drop bombs like ISIS, okay?
Keith, he was in there with Edwin De Los Santos. His knockout ratio, Edwin De Los Santos, would be the highest that Tank has ever fought if Tank fought Edwin De Los Santos today. What is Keith Thurman talking about?
You handle them bombs, and then, let's see, man. I mean,
Edwin De Los Santos brutally knocked out Jose Valenzuela, who outclassed Isaac Pitbull Cruz. and Shakur outboxed Edwin Dos Santos with 2 broken hands. And Edwin Dos Santos was fully healthy. He was dropping bombs, Keith Thurman.
Obviously, we've seen whatchamacallit lose in the past, Isaac Cruz, right? But like I'm saying, man, he ain't even been in with one of them type of dogs. Like, I want to see dogs, bro.
Isaac Cruz got badly outboxed and outclassed by Jose El Rayo. What is he talking about? He's a one-trick pony. He got badly outboxed and outclassed. This is amazing. This is the type of misleading that takes place in the sport of boxing. This is why I have to respond the way I respond. Because you look at the comment section and these people take what he says for gold and they don't know the details and the reality. It's nasty work. Truly nasty work. And that's all I got for y'all. And Shakur has been chasing down Tank Davis to fight Tank Davis. And Tank Davis is refusing to fight him, saying Shakur hasn't done anything. Yet you fight Lamont Roach, who lost to Jamel Herring, who Shakur dominated? Make it make sense. Shakur has better wins on his resume than Lamont Roach. Shakur has better wins on his resume than Rolly Romero. Shakur has better wins on his resume than Frank Martin. Shakur has better wins on his resume than Isaac Cruz. What are we talking about, Keith Thurman? Oh, I know what it is. You went tooth and nail with Mario Barrios and couldn't knock him out. And Tank knocked him out in the 11th round. You got a big Tank up because it makes you look good. It's nasty work. But that's all I got for y'all, man. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. I'm gone. Peace.